On the cold planet of Varelia, where the skies were always purple and the trees whispered warnings, there lived a lonely alien girl named Silara. Her skin shimmered like moonlight and glowed softly in the dark, but no one came near her. No one dared. Not even her own people. They called her cursed. They said her touch was death. When she was just a baby, her mother picked her up and collapsed minutes later. The doctors said it was a strange toxin from Zilara's skin, something unknown, something dangerous. Her mother never woke up again. From that day, everyone feared Zilara. Children ran when she passed. Adults stared with hate or fear. She grew up behind sealed doors, wearing gloves and a cloak, forbidden to play or even speak to others. The elders named her the Untouchable. She lived in a small stone house on the edge of the city, alone except for a drone that delivered her food. Even her teachers never came close. They spoke to her through screens. Her life was quiet, painful, and full of silence. But Zilara didn't cry anymore. She had cried enough for years. Now she just stared at the sky, wondering what stars looked like up close. She wondered if other planets had people like her. People who were unwanted. People who were feared. One evening, while sitting near the cliff behind her home, she saw something falling from the sky. It wasn't a meteor. It was too smooth, too silver. It glowed like a dying star and crashed into the forest beyond the mountains. It was a ship. A human ship. No human had ever come to Varelia before. The last time they tried, the council sent them away. Aliens believed humans were too emotional, too weak. But now one had arrived, alone. Curious as Lara stood. No one would stop her. No one ever talked to her, anyway. She pulled her hood tighter and began walking. It took her 2 hours to reach the crash site. Smoke rose from the ground. Trees had burned in a circle, and in the center stood a man tall, covered in dust and blood. He was trying to pull something from the wreck. She hid behind a tree, watching him. The man collapsed. Zilara gasped softly. He was bleeding from the leg. He needed help, but if she got close, what if her skin harmed him too? No, she whispered to herself. He's not like the others. He's not alien. Her heart beat fast. No one had ever looked at her without fear. No one had ever spoken to her. But this human didn't know her story. Maybe that was a gift. Maybe he would see her for who she was, not what they said. She was She stepped closer. Her boots crunched the burnt leaves. The man groaned and turned his head. His eyes met hers. Tired, confused, but not afraid. Who are you? He asked in a weak voice. I'm Zilara, she said. Her voice shook. She hadn't said her name out loud in years. Can you help me? He whispered, holding his bleeding leg. She nodded quickly, but stayed a few feet away. I can guide you, but I can't touch you. Why not? He asked, confused. It's dangerous, she said. Everyone who touches me, they get hurt. I'm not like others. He smiled weakly. I crashed from space. I think I can handle a little danger. She blinked. Was that a joke? She led him to a cave nearby, where it was warm and dry. She gave him clean water from a stream. She crushed healing plants and placed them on a cloth, sliding it near him without contact. He watched her carefully. Her movements were careful, her eyes always sad. You live here? He asked. Nearby, she replied. No family? She shook her head. They fear me, everyone does. The man leaned back against the cave wall. Well, I'm Leo, he said. And I don't fear you, Zilara. Her heart stopped for a second. No one had ever said her name like that. No one had smiled at her like that. And no one had ever said they weren't afraid. That night, she sat by the cave's entrance, staring at the stars. Leo slept behind her. And for the first time in her life, Zilara felt something new. Hope. But deep inside, a fear still remained. What if he touched her? What if he was just like the rest? What if the curse was real? She didn't know yet. But soon she would find out. The Geo. Next morning, soft sunlight slipped through the cracks of the cave. Solara didn't sleep all night. She just sat beside the entrance, listening to Leo breathe. Every sound he made reminded her he was still alive, still safe, still not affected by her presence. She watched his chest rise and fall, and wondered, was he truly different? Suddenly, Leo groaned and sat up, his hand going to his injured leg. Still hurts, he muttered, rubbing his head. Solara turned to him quickly. You're awake, good. I brought food, she said, sliding a tray of dried fruit and clean water toward him without touching it. Leo looked at the tray, then at her. You sat here all night? She nodded, lowering her eyes. I had to be sure. That you didn't get sick, he smiled weakly. You care. Even if you're scared of your own touch. I don't want to hurt you, she whispered. Leo tilted his head. Then let me decide if I'm afraid of you or not, he said, gently. Exe. Lara froze. No one had ever said that. Everyone assumed. She was dangerous. Everyone decided for her. But Leo was different. He didn't flinch, he didn't run. And his voice didn't tremble. He reached for the fruit and took a bite. Tastes weird, he said, chewing. But it's good. Thank you. That simple thank you sent shivers down her spine. It felt like sunlight breaking through years of clouds. Her hands shook slightly as she pulled her hood tighter, hiding her glowing face. Leo glanced around. So you're not going to ask me where I'm from? She sat on a stone and nodded. You came from Earth. Humans don't come here. Your ship was small. Must be a scout. Leo looked impressed. You're sharp. Yeah, I was scouting mineral zones. But something hit me mid-orbit, some kind of magnetic pulse. That was the barrier, Solara explained. The Council placed it to stop off-worlders. They don't trust humans. Leo laughed softly. Well, I'm not here to start a war. I just need to fix my ship and then maybe. He paused. Go home. That word home stung her heart. What is it like? She asked suddenly. Earth? Leo blinked. Crowded, noisy, messy, but warm and full of life. People laugh a lot. They argue too, but they care. At least most of them. Solara looked away, hiding the ache in her chest. Sounds nothing like here. Leo watched her closely. You sound lonely. I am, she admitted. I always have been. Silence stretched between them for a moment. Then, Leo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. A hollow pendant. He tapped it, and a tiny image appeared him with a woman and a child, all smiling. My sister and niece, he said. They're waiting for me. Solara stared at the glowing image. They looked so happy, so close. She didn't know what. That felt like, I wish I had someone, she said. Voice almost too quiet to hear. You do now, Leo said. She looked up sharply. What? He smiled. I'm here. I'm not dead. I'm not sick. And I don't plan on leaving you in this cave alone. Her hands clenched tightly. But you don't know what could happen if you touch me. Then let's find out. Together. He said. Before she could stop him, Leo slowly reached out not to grab her, but just to offer his hand, open and calm. Solara gasped and stumbled back, her cloak brushing the cave wall. No, you don't understand. My skin had hurt my own mother. Leo paused, but didn't lower his hand. Maybe, but I'm not your people. Maybe humans are immune. Tears welled up in her eyes. Why? Why would you risk it? He shrugged. Because you saved my life. And because you deserve to know someone isn't afraid of you. Solara's chest ached. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to reach out. But the fear, it lived deep inside her bones. I can't, she whispered. Leo smiled gently and withdrew his hand. Okay, not today, but one day when you're ready. She looked at him like he had spoken magic. No pressure, no fear. No demands. Just kindness. That night, Zilara built a small fire near the cave entrance. Leo sat across from her, telling stories of earth oceans, music, skies with birds, and for the first time in her life, Zilara laughed. The sound echoed softly through the cave, reaching places untouched by sound for years. She didn't know it yet, but this human wasn't just healing his own wounds. He was healing hers too. The fire had burned low, leaving only glowing embers when Zilara asked the question she never dared speak before. "Leo," she said softly, her voice trembling, "why didn't my touch hurt you?" Leo blinked, rubbing his eyes as he sat up straighter. He had been telling her a story about snow on Earth, but now her voice was different, quiet and scared, like someone who wanted the truth, even if it hurt. He looked into her glowing eyes, flickering like fireflies in the dark. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but maybe it's time we find out." Zilara hesitated, then reached inside her cloak and pulled out a small black stone sealed inside a glass vial. "This," she said, holding it carefully, "was taken from my blood when I was 5. The elders said it carried the same energy that killed my mother." Leo leaned closer, curious. "What is it?" "A toxin," she whispered. "But only to alien biology." Now he was alert. "Only to aliens?" She nodded. "Yes, that's why I've always been alone. They tested it. When alien skin touches mine, the toxin releases. But they never tested it on humans. They just assumed." Leo's mind raced. "Wait, so maybe you're not cursed, just incompatible." Her lips parted slightly. The idea was new to her. "I never thought of it like that," she admitted. Leo stood, limping slightly as he moved toward her. "Zilara, maybe you were never dangerous. Maybe your body was just protecting itself, like a natural defense." She looked at her hands, glowing faintly under the moonlight. "But then why am I still alone?" "Because they were afraid," Leo said. "And fear doesn't ask questions, it just runs." Zilara sat in silence, thinking. Then slowly, she unscrewed the vial and poured the black stone into her palm. Her skin did not burn, it didn't glow. It just rested there. Leo stepped closer. "Let's test something," he said, pulling out a medical reader from his bag. He scanned the stone in her hand. The reader blinked. "Toxin. Active target species. Violin." He scanned his own arm. "Target. Species. Human toxin. INACTIVE." His eyes widened. "XE Lara. It's true. Your body isn't harmful to me. It's only reactive to Varelian biology. That means I'm safe." Zilara's lips trembled. "All these years, I thought I was cursed." "No," Leo said, kneeling down in front of her. "You're not cursed, you're misunderstood." She looked at him like he had just opened a door she never knew existed. Her world, full of walls and loneliness, suddenly felt possible. "Then why didn't they ever tell me?" she asked, voice tight with pain. "Why did no one even try?" Leo's jaw tightened. "Because your fears served them. The council wanted to keep you hidden. If people knew the truth, they'd start asking questions. They'd realize how cruel it was to lock you away." Zilara gripped the black stone tighter, then threw it into the fire. Sparks flew, but she didn't flinch. "I'm not a monster," she said firmly, for the first time believing it. "No," Leo said with a smile. "You're something much more powerful." Just then, the cave shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep humming filled the air. Zilara's eyes widened. "The drones," she said, standing quickly. "They found you." Leo cursed under his breath. "The council must have tracked my crash signal. They'll come for you," she said. "And if they see me with you, they'll think I infected you." Leo grabbed his bag. "We have to move." They ran through the narrow cave path, Zilara leading. The forest outside shimmered with light search drones scanning the ground with bright blue beams. They ducked behind rocks, moving quickly but quietly. As they reached the edge of the cliff, Zalara stopped. Leo. If they catch us, they'll put me in a lab. They'll never let me go again. Then we don't let them catch us, he said. Suddenly, 2 drones flew over the cliff. Lights flashed. Halt! Unauthorized lifeform detected. Zalara screamed as the drones fired stun pulses. Leo grabbed her arm, not skin to skin, but enough to pull her down behind a boulder. He reached into his bag and threw a device into the AIRBOOM. The EMP blast knocked both drones out instantly. They crashed to the ground smoking. Zalara stared at him, shocked. You saved me, he grinned. Told you, I'm not leaving you alone again. She smiled back, but it faded quickly. They'll send more, she said, and bigger ones. Then we need to show them something they've never seen, Leo replied. What? The truth, he said. That you're not cursed. You're proof of something powerful. A connection between species. A bridge. You're the secret they tried to bury. She took a deep breath. For the first time, her fear was fading. Zalara wasn't just the girl with cursed skin anymore. She was the girl with a purpose. Asterisk. The sky cracked open with blue lightning as the Council's elite hovership sliced through the clouds. They weren't just looking for a trespasser. They were hunting a truth they had buried for years. Zalara, far below, hidden under the twisted roots of a giant glowing tree, Zalara and Leo sat in silence. Their breaths were shallow, their hearts racing. The forest around them no longer felt like a home. It felt like a trap. They know I'm with you, Zalara whispered. Her voice trembled, not from fear for herself, but fear for Leo. He looked up through the branches, watching the scout ship search with beams of light. They'll come down hard. They won't ask questions. Zalara touched her chest. They never do. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed nearby. The ground shook. Dust rained from the leaves above. They're here, Leo said, grabbing her hand. Not bare skin, gloved, but still warm. Still real. We run to the ridge, Zalara said. There's an old tunnel there. My mother took me once before she, Leo nodded. No need to finish the sentence. They ran, through thick glowing vines. And over sharp rocks they ran. Behind them, the sound of jet engines grew louder. Voices in alien language shouted orders. Laser beams sliced past trees, burning holes into the ground. One shot struck near Zalara's feet, making her stumble. Leo caught her mid-fall and pulled her up. Keep going, he shouted, but before they could reach the tunnel, a massive shadow fell over them. A tall metal suit, a Varelian enforcer mech landed between them and the exit. From inside, a voice boomed. Zalara, by order of the Council, you are hereby detained. Step forward. Do not resist. Zalara stepped back slowly, panic in her eyes. Leo, don't fight. If you resist, they'll kill you. Leo clenched his fists. Then what? Let them lock you away again? Let them erase you like you're a danger? I'm not afraid for me, she whispered. I'm afraid you'll get hurt because of me. Suddenly, another drone appeared behind them, firing a stun pulse. Leo tried to shield her, but it hit him square in the back. He dropped to the ground. Leo! Zalara screamed, falling to her knees beside him. His eyes fluttered open briefly. Don't let them take you. Before she could respond, a heavy net shot from the mech, wrapping around her glowing body. It pulsed with an electric hum, designed to contain her toxin. She screamed, struggling, but it only grew tighter. The soldiers approached in armored suits. They avoided contact, handling her like radioactive waste. She was thrown into a containment pod. Through the glass, she watched as they dragged Leo's unconscious body away in a separate cage. Tears ran down her face. Not from pain, but from helplessness. For the first time in her life, someone had seen her as more than a curse. and now they were going to take him from her. Back in the capital. The holding cell was cold, the lights too bright. Zilara sat alone in a glass chamber while counselors stood outside, whispering and pointing. Human contact confirmed, one said. No visible infection, another replied. Her power could be valuable, whispered a third. She didn't speak. She didn't beg. She only stared at the floor. Hours passed. Then the door opened with a hiss. A figure stepped in. Counselor Vera, a tall, thin alien with cruel eyes and a voice that always sounded fake. You made a mistake, Zilara, he said. Letting the human touch you. He didn't get sick, she said softly. Which makes you more dangerous than we thought, he replied. No, she snapped, looking up for the first time. It makes me proof that I'm not cursed. Vera narrowed his eyes. He's being sent off-world. Back to Earth. You'll never see him again. Her chest tightened. Why? Because your bond with him breaks our laws. We do not mix with other species, especially not humans. She stood, fire in her eyes. You don't fear me. You fear the truth. He stepped closer to the glass. We fear what you represent. But Zilara wasn't scared anymore, because now she knew. The curse was a lie. The isolation was control. And Leo, he was her spark. Somewhere deep in the facility, Leo was waking up in chains. But even bruised and drugged, his heart beat with one goal. Get back to her. Neither knew how. But both were ready to fight, because love wasn't just an emotion, now it was a rebellion. The alarms didn't ring right away. They didn't ring when the guard on the west gate fell asleep without warning. They didn't ring when the Sky Patrol blinked offline for just 60 seconds. They didn't ring until the Earthborn intruder walked straight into the most secure prison on Varelia. And by then, it was too late. Leo was bleeding from the lip. His left shoulder was bruised, but his eyes burned with fire. He moved through the shadows of the Council's detention base like a ghost, silent, focused, deadly. He had no weapons, just stolen alien tech, a map carved into memory, and one purpose. Pulsing through his veins. I'm getting her back. 2 levels below, Zilara sat inside a glowing glass cell. The walls hummed constantly with energy designed to weaken her, keep her calm, quiet, contained. But her thoughts weren't calm. They were screaming. She felt something in her bones, like a storm building under her skin. Not fear, something else. Hope. Something was changing. And she knew it had a name. Leo. Upstairs, Leo ducked past a security scanner. His stolen cloaking device flickered. It had only minutes of power left. He didn't care. He reached the lab wing, where alien scientists had begun studying the human interaction subject, Zilara. He scanned the doors until he found it. Specimen 07. Biotoxin host caution. Do not touch. He gritted his teeth. You monsters locked up a girl just because she was different. He growled under his breath. Pulling a tool from his belt. The door sparked and hissed open. Inside, Zilara's eyes snapped toward the sound. She stood and gasped. Leo. Her voice was barely a whisper. Her knees weakened, but she didn't fall, because he was real. He came, again. I told you I'm not leaving you, he said, stepping forward. But how? She asked, tears welling up. No time. We're leaving. Now, he said, already working on the control panel for her cell. Red lights began flashing. Breach detected. Intruder alert. Doors slammed shut across the complex. But Leo kept working. Sparks flew. The glass flickered, then vanished. She stepped forward, hesitant. Leo. If I touch you, then touch me, he said, holding out his hand bare. Zilara looked into his eyes. She had lived her entire life avoiding this moment. And now, she was choosing it. She placed her glowing hand in his. Nothing happened. No burn. No poison. Just warmth. Leo smiled, then grabbed her hand tighter. Let's go. They ran through the emergency corridors as sirens wailed. Guards rushed in from all directions. Stun blasts flew past them. One barely missed Leo's leg. Zalara raised her other hand, and for the first time, used her toxin on purpose. With a single touch on the wall, her skin released a wave of energy that short-circuited the entire floor's defenses. Lights burst. Doors melted. Guards screamed and fell, stunned. Leo looked at her amazed. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was fighting. They reached the hangar. One ship remained small, fast, unguarded. Get in. Leo shouted. Zalara paused at the ramp, turning to look back. If we leave, the council will call me a traitor, a criminal. Leo stepped beside her. Let them. The truth is more powerful than their lies. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The ship roared to life, engines screaming. Guards rushed into the hangar, firing. Leo flipped the shield switch just in time. Blasts bounced off. Hang on, he yelled. They shot into the sky, through clouds and toward the stars. The capital shrank behind them. Zalara looked down at the world that locked her away, and then at Leo, who set her free. Her voice broke the silence. You didn't just rescue me. Leo glanced over. No? You rescued the part of me I thought was dead, she said. He smiled. Then you better stay alive, because I'm not done proving how wrong they were about you. As the ship entered the stars, they didn't know what waited ahead. But they knew one thing. Together, they were unstoppable. And the galaxy would soon learn the truth. That love wasn't weakness. It was revolution. Asterisk. It didn't happen during the escape, or in the firelight, or even in the silence of space. It happened in the smallest, quietest moment. In the middle of a laugh. They were drifting between stars now, far from the council's eyes, the stolen ship moving on silent engines. Leo sat at the console, trying to repair the navigation system. Sparks flew as he twisted the wrong wire, and the screen blinked dark. Oops, he said. Zalara raised an eyebrow. That didn't sound professional. He looked back at her and grinned. You want to fly instead? I've never even been allowed to stand near a ship, she said, sitting cross-legged on the floor, brushing her glowing fingers through her silver-blue hair. You seem to be doing fine with freedom, Leo replied, tossing her a water packet. She caught it with one hand, smiled. And then it happened. She laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a nervous giggle. A real laugh, light, surprised, full of life. Leo froze, not because of the sound, but because it did something strange to him. It made the ship feel warmer, brighter, like something important had just changed. Zalara wiped her eye. What? I've never heard you laugh like that, he said quietly. I don't think I ever have, she admitted. He stepped closer, dropping to the floor across from her. You should do it more. She smiled, but it faded slowly. Her eyes dropped to her glowing hands. I'm afraid, she whispered. Of what? Leo asked. Of feeling this happy, of touching you, of losing everything again. He leaned in. Her breath caught. But what if the toxin changes? What if I hurt you by accident? He reached out. Then let me take the risk. She stared at his hand. He wasn't wearing gloves. His skin was scarred from battle and calloused from work. But it looked warm, safe, real. Slowly she placed her glowing fingers on his palm. No reaction. No burn. No pain. Her breath shook. Her other hand moved to his wrist, then slid to his forearm. Still nothing. She looked up, tears forming. I can touch you, she whispered. Leo nodded, his voice rough. You can. Their hands intertwined fully now. No gloves, no barrier. Skin to skin. Heart to heart. I've dreamed of this, Zalara said. Of just feeling someone's warmth. You're not cursed, he said, voice low and serious. You're alive. Her lip trembled, and for the first time, I believe it. He pulled her gently into a hug. She hesitated, but then melted into it. Her face pressed against his chest, his arms wrapping around her. The warmth was overwhelming. She felt like sunlight after years of storm. Leo held her as if she were not something dangerous, but something precious. Something worth fighting for. Something he would never let go. Time passed. Minutes or hours, they didn't care. They just stayed there, tangled together under the hum of the stars. Eventually, she spoke. "When we land, what happens next?" Leo looked into her eyes. "We find people who will listen. We tell your story. We make them see. You think they'll believe us? They don't have to," he said. "We'll make them feel it." She smiled, touching his cheek. "You're strange, human." He chuckled. "So are you, alien." Their foreheads pressed together, not needing more words. Somewhere in the distance, a warning beep broke the silence. Leo glanced at the screen. "Looks like a small planet ahead. Life signals. Might be a good place to rest." She stood slowly, still holding his hand. "Then let's go, together." As the ship turned toward the new world, the stars outside shimmered. Not just with light but with possibility, because the girl once called untouchable had been touched, and the human who touched her was never going to let her go. Asterisk. They landed without noise. The ship touched the ground on a quiet planet with orange skies and soft blue grass. Far from Varelia, far from war, far from fear. And for the first time in her life, Solara stepped outside without a cloak. No gloves, no helmet, no layers to hide her light, just her bare hands, her glowing skin, and the breeze on her face. She looked up, eyes wide as clouds drifted slowly above her. Birds strange and colorful flew in gentle loops, singing soft tunes. Leo stepped beside her. "Welcome to Eos Manor," he said. "A refugee world. Peaceful, private, and," he smiled, "untouched by the council." Solara breathed deeply. "It smells like freedom." "Yeah," Leo said. "Smells good, doesn't it?" They spent the day walking under alien trees. The wind hummed. The planet didn't ask questions. It didn't judge her skin. It didn't call her cursed. It just accepted her. For Solara, that was everything. But peace couldn't stay silent for long. That evening, a scout drone passed overhead. Not from the council, but from a neutral broadcast hub. It hovered for a few seconds before floating away. Leo sighed. "It probably scanned us, tracked our DNA. It'll know who you are." Solara looked down. "They'll come again? Maybe," he said. "But this time, we tell your story first." 3 days later, the galaxy changed. A video was uploaded to the outer system networks. A message from Leo, and beside him -xe Lara. No effects. No lies, just truth. The clip began with her stepping into view, barehanded, standing tall. "My name is Solara. For my whole life I was feared, locked away, called a danger to my people. But I was never a danger. I was never a curse. I was just misunderstood." She paused. "This human touched me, and he lived. He didn't run. He didn't flinch. He saw me not as a weapon, but as someone worthy of love." Leo stepped beside her. "We're telling the story because someone needs to hear it. Maybe you're different too. Maybe you were rejected, afraid, alone. Don't believe the lie that you're unworthy. We're proof that connection is stronger than fear." The video spread like wildfire, across colonies, across systems, across species. Some called it heresy. Some called it a miracle, but many called it something else. Hope. Weeks passed. People began to arrive on Eos Minor, not to hurt, but to learn. Varelian. Doctors, alien scholars, even humans. All with questions, notebooks, scanners. But this time, Solara wasn't in a cage. She was at the center of a circle, answering questions, holding hands, letting others touch her skin and watching them gasp as they felt no pain. Her curse was never real. It had been fear, passed down and enforced But now that fear was melting. One child, a small alien girl with scales and wide purple eyes, stepped forward during a gathering. She looked up at Zilara, trembling. "My father says I can't play with others because my eyes make people scared," she said softly. Zilara knelt and took the girl's hands. "Then you come play with me." The child gasped and smiled. That picture Zilara holding the girl's hand became the new face of the resistance, a symbol, not of rebellion, but of healing. Later that night, on a hill where stardust fell like snow, Leo and Zilara sat side by side. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you think my people will ever accept me?" "I think," Leo said, "they'll never forget you." She closed her eyes. "I'm not afraid anymore." He turned to her, brushing a strand of her hair behind her ear. "Good, because I fell in love with the girl they feared, not the legend. Not the curse, you." Her heart fluttered. Her fingers reached for his dot. They sat under the stars. Two people from two worlds once broken, now whole, and somewhere across galaxies, another lonely child saw her story and dared to believe they weren't cursed either.